This is the plaintiff, Nairi. She says she rented an apartment from the defendant in a 3-family home, and every time they saw one another, he harassed her. She even got an order of protection against the creepy guy. She also reported him to the authorities because her house was infested with mice, and he was fined. Now he won't return her security, so she's dragging his rear end today and taking him to court for the $3,783 she's owed. This is the defendant, Kenrick Job. He says he canceled the lady's lease because one of her Johns kicked in and broke down his front door. As far as her security goes, he has every right to keep it under the law because she left behind all her living room furniture, and her daughter's junk, too. She can fight him all she wants, but he's not backing down and is sure the judge will side with him today. He's accused of rubbing a renter the wrong way.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket, the plaintiff rented an apartment from the defendant and says it got so bad she had to get an order of protection against him. And she says the place was infested with mice. The defendant says this chick had a bunch of Johns. Get the picture? It's the case of Dear John.
Thank you. Nairi?
Yes.
You want to be referred to only as Nairi. You are suing Kenrick Job,
Yes.
your former landlord, for $3,783, 3 times the security deposit, which you say is per New York State law. It's a new one on me for New York. And your security deposit that he refuses to return. Okay, what's going on?
Well, at the end of October, I was notified that I will be evicted because my lease was not being renewed, no reason given.
He doesn't have to give you a reason. He doesn't want to renew your lease. He doesn't renew your lease.
Correct.
Right.
And so I was evicted.
But out of curiosity, why weren't you renewing her lease?
Why I wasn't renewing her lease?
Yeah.
Because one of her John kicked my front door in.
One of her what?
Her John.
Her Johns?
Johns.
One of her Johns hit your front door?
One of her Johns kicked the front door in.
Because what? You suspected her of illegal prostitution in your home?
Prostitution and drugs.
And drugs? What evidence did you have of drugs?
Because the U.S. Marshal come there looking for a drug dealer.
How do
in
you
her
know?
apartment. Because he calls me on the phone.
The marshal?
The marshal. And it's twice they come there looking for him at her apartment. And she don't know him. She don't know. He lives in the street. Somebody that lives in the street she don't know at all.
Okay.
Okay? I have tenants in that building. And I have to protect my tenants.
And the tenants were complaining?
The tenants was complaining, yes.
Saying what?
That there's men been going through that door. The door has been open and they've been going up the step all hours of the night.
Okay.
So I went down and I locked the door. I come back the next night, the door is open again, and that's how it's been going.
Okay, okay. So he makes a decision not to renew your lease, and what happens?
Well, actually,
and he tells you that in May?
No, he never told me anything. He actually...
When was your lease up?
My lease was up in October
okay.
31st.
Okay.
He never told me that he was not renewing my lease. He told...
But you know your lease is up in October.
People.
Told
I
who?
asked him in September, neighborhood people in the neighborhood. You know, I grew up in that neighborhood, so people were coming and telling me. Now, a friend of mine did kick the door in, but he was not a John. And I called the police, and then I called Mr. Job. I did press charges, but they told me I couldn't because it wasn't my property, that Mr. Job had to do it. So
but that's ridiculous because if you're going to be held responsible for it through your security deposit, you darn well, it is your property. You're renting it. You do have a right to press charges. That information was false. But in any event, so and now you know that you know your lease is up in October, so you figure out that you got to be out. And what happens?
What happens is I get served with eviction papers.
When?
October 31st.
Because you didn't get out in October. Your lease was over October what?
No, he never... I lived... Section 8 paid a portion of my rent. He cannot evict me.
How much of your rent is Section 8 paid?
$1,144.
Okay, so the government's paying $1,144 in rent and you're paying how much?
$117.
Okay.
So he was not allowed to evict me without notifying Section 8. It's a process that he had to go through a contract that he has with Section 8.
Yeah, and the process involves him evicting you if you hold over. When was the When was her last day? September 30th or October 31st?
The lease expires October 31st.
Okay, so when you file an eviction before
file an eviction in November, around November 1st.
Okay, so you waited after October 31st.
No, we went to court, and she
Can I
asked,
see the eviction papers, sir? Did you guys actually have a hearing where you both testified?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the judge's order that says that you were suing at that hearing for her portion in November and her portion in January. Good Lord. Why would they give her 6 months to get out
exactly.
if they find her in violation of a lease?
Well,
I mean, I'm sorry, it's insanity. I don't mean to not be compassionate, but 6 months? 6 months? Seriously? It doesn't take anybody else 6 months to find a new place. If you're not paying, and you don't have a lease, you don't have a right to be there, you're a holdover tenant. Other holdover tenants don't get 6 months. The respondent was unable to assert, the respondent being you, was unable to assert a valid legal defense, so I'm going to give her 6 months. That's the next sentence.
Yeah.
The respondent was unable to assert a valid legal defense to defeat this holdover proceeding. So you were awarded final judgment of possession. It's January when the judge writes the order, but they're giving her till April 30th, almost May, to get out.
Exactly.
Am I the only one that sounds like ridiculous to? Why did the judge feel so sorry for you or something? Because it doesn't take 5 months to complete. Section 8 needs to move a little faster because it doesn't take 5 months. So that's just crazy. Do you have children? Is that what it was?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
Section 8, 6 months to
How many children do you have? I want to understand why the judge felt sorry for you. Do you have
one child?
How
now.
old?
I have 2 children. Only one lives with me.
How old?
She's 18 now.
Okay, so that isn't it. Okay, so what is it? Like, what is it that would make the judge think that it would be appropriate to have you living? Did Section 8 pay their portion to April 30th?
No. After I...
Yes or no?
No.
They didn't pay?
No.
Okay, what didn't they pay?
They didn't pay May.
Oh, that's okay. April 30th comes before May. So up to April 30th, they paid the rent.
Yeah, they pay us the rent.
Okay, but then she didn't leave April 30th?
No.
The judge gives you 6 months, and that's not enough for you to get your act together? And so you still don't leave and you're still there in May?
I still to this day, I still have not received my transfer paperwork.
You're there, you're still there?
No, I'm not still there.
Okay. Okay. So are you in another apartment?
I'm staying with my father right now.
And Section 8 still hasn't prepared your work? Are you sure you're maybe not supplying something?
No, I'm totally
familiar with
positive.
Section 8. You're not my first rodeo. And I've never seen anybody take 8 months in Section 8 for something like this. 8 months is like, there's something else going on here.
Well,
first of all, the judge gives you 6 months. So the first 6 months aren't even against her. It's like for her, woohoo, bonus. And the fault of the judge, not the fault of Section 8. So I'm just astounded. Do you have a Section 8 paperwork? Because listen, the idea behind Section 8 is to help people who can't afford to pay their rent through a tough period in their life. It's not supposed to be a way of life. How long have you been receiving it?
I've been on it for about 3 years now.
What do you do for a living?
Right now, I'm disabled. I got divorced.
What's the nature of the disability? Mental or physical?
Physical.
What's the physical disability?
I have back pain. I was hit in a motor vehicle accident 2 years ago.
Okay, if you stayed there in May, you acknowledge that you stayed there in May, right?
No, in May I was evicted by the marshals.
Oh, they had to drag you out? You have a court order that gave you 6 months. It wasn't enough for you?
Section 8 will not allow me to leave just because the court said you had to leave.
Oh,
you have
sweetheart,
to wait
let me
for
tell
the
you
marshals
something.
to leave.
You are not my first rodeo. That is not Section 8 rules. Section 8 is a federal program.
That's the problem I'm
It's
going through with them right now.
And it exists everywhere, and it has the same rules, okay? So the stuff you're talking about is not accurate. According to Section 8, you must disobey a court order and be dragged out by your hair. No, that's just crazy. It's crazy. So you did stay there in May. Okay.
So May 21st.
Yes or no? Till
May 21st.
Until the marshals dragged you out. Okay.
Which is
now,
what I was told to do.
By whom?
Section 8. In order for me to expedite my transfer, I would have to stay there and wait for the marshals to leave. They are currently looking for paperwork that he didn't supply. Because I never was served a 30-day notice by the marshals. That's what's holding up my paperwork.
That is the silliest thing I ever heard. Because if you chose to go to a new apartment and you still qualified for Section 8, all it takes is the amount of time it takes to fill out the paperwork for the new apartment. You're not required to be evicted in order to avail yourself of Section 8. What you're saying is made up. Now, let's just stop the game and let's just talk frankly. I want answers to my specific questions. So you left on May 21st.
Correct.
My question to you is, did you pay your $147 throughout the time that you were there? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Is that accurate that she paid it up to April 30th?
Yes.
Okay. And then May comes, and did you get her $147 in May?
No.
And you didn't get their the Section 8 payment either?
No.
Okay. So, and how much is rent totally?
The rent is $1,261.
And how much was your security deposit?
$1,261.
Oh, isn't that a happy coincidence? So then why is it, if you stay in May and the man didn't get rent for May, why on God's green acres would you be entitled to your security deposit?
So if she was running a prostitution ring, can he legally kick her out? What do you think?
I think so,
Why?
because it's illegal.
So if it's prostitution and she's committing an illegal act, you can kick him out? Is that right?
Yes,
So any illegal act, you can kick a tenant out.
absolutely.
Fair enough. Going inside the courtroom.
The reason why he did not pay rent for May, which he is still fighting for currently, is because he failed inspection because of mice, droppings, and the window being off guard.
Okay, let me see your paperwork from May. And you agree that they never sent him a check for May. And you're saying, well, the reason they didn't send him a check for May is because he got a housing violation on May 1st. Of course, May 1st, you have no business even being there, right? And you're calling 311 on him.
No, they did an inspection on
Oh,
that
what a
day.
coincidence. On the day that you're not supposed to be there anymore, because you're supposed to have moved out the day before, they come out, inspect, according to, I'm sure, your phone call. You called them, right?
Yeah.
Did you call them?
No.
So one day I called 311 and they find him.
311, not Section 8. 311, not Section 8. 311 is HPD.
The one day that you called them was the day after you have no right to be there anymore, right?
No.
And anticipate.
It was before
Look,
that.
Can I tell you something? Let me tell you something. I've been playing this a long time.
It was before that.
You, my hat's off to you because you've got the system down like a pro.
Yeah.
You've got every angle of it figured out. Every angle to your advantage. Okay? Every angle. And you even have a smug look on your face now because you know that what I'm saying is true.
No, it's not true
You've got
at
it
all.
all figured out.
It's not true at all.
Yeah, it is. Please. Oh, and by the way, New York doesn't have a law for treble damages for security deposit. I don't know who told you that, but that's not true. Maybe that's the same person giving you advice that you need to be dragged out by the hair from the marshals before it is that Section 8 will actually get you housing. Please. Verdict for the defendant.
Thank you.
Is the plaintiff coming out into the hallway here? Now that this case is over and done with, what is it you'd like to say out here in the hallway?
Well, basically, he lied about everything on the stand, and he's going to keep my security deposit and move forward to get the money from Section 8. So he'll get paid for May twice.
Why do you think he wanted you out, really, if not for the reasons he testified?
Because he has a crush on me, and I'm dating his cousin.
Oh. What? Let's go. Come on out here. You know.
Hey,
You know.
you're knocking me down.
I don't know if you're acting well. You know, good acting there, but you heard her. You heard what she
Yeah,
said.
I sure heard what she said.
You have a crush on her.
I have a crush on her. Can you believe it?
I don't know.
That's a parasite. When you got to pull it from the root to get rid of it.
Is she dating your cousin?
Who is my cousin? Look, I'm a businessman. My cousin is money.
Okay, over to Harvey.
By the way, New York does not have a law that says that if a landlord wrongfully withholds security, that the tenant can get 3 times the damages back. But there are a number of states that have that, and it serves as a penalty when landlords don't do the right thing. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.